Let's get on with the details, shall we? A Kumasi Circuit Court has sentenced a 20-year-old man to 7 years imprisonment for defilement in the video that was captured and that went viral in that gang rape video in Bantama, a suburb of the Ashanti region. Ernest Asare was sentenced to prison with hard labor. He is the oldest of 5 actors arrested in December 2017 after that video of a teenage girl being raped went viral. Erastus Asare Donko was in court. He joins me on the phone with those very details. Erastus, walk us through the proceedings as it happened in court today, will you?
Okay, so before it even comes to the ruling of alleged Comfort Tatiami, she is presiding over the Circuit Court 1, also known as the Gender Court today, which tried these youngsters. The background to this is that if you remember, late December last year, there was a video that went viral on social media. In the video, you could see a teenage girl being strapped to the ground by some other young men, and some of them performing sexual acts on her, and they were doing that intent. And so this generated huge public outcry, and out of that, the assembly member for that area led to the arrest of these youngsters, 5 of them in all, and they were sent to the police station. And since then, trial in court began. I must say that there were some hitches along the line at a point where their ages were in contention in court. One of them in particular said he was 16, and then the other lawyers were disputing that. And so American Relief Center, which is an NGO, got interested in the case, paid for some assessment to be done on these kids. At the end of the day, the court adopted that though these tests were done, it still thinks that that particular age was 15. And so the trial went on and on and on for 5 months now. And today, her ladyship, Comfort Tatiami, came up with her ruling. And in that ruling, he said that she finds all the accused persons guilty of charges of conspiracy to commit defilement and defilement. One other kid in there had another charge of aiding and abetting, and in fact, this was the kid who was holding the phone and filming the act. So he had an additional charge of aiding and abetting. But then in the course of the ruling, changed that the Circuit Court does not have the jurisdiction to give judgment or sentence the 4 who are deemed juveniles. And so she's leaving that and referring that to an appropriate court to be set up by the judicial system. That this court that is yet to defend to pass judgment on that. But this other convict who is 20, that is Ernest Asare, who's 20 years, he was sentenced to 7 years in hard labor. And so that is what happened in court today. I must say it was an emotionally charged proceeding, because after the judgment was handed down, then some of them broke into tears, uncontrollable tears. One of them was even at the point requesting that she doesn't really feel well, and he's requesting medical assistance at that point. Some of the parents were also wailing uncontrollably. So it was an emotionally charged environment in court today.
Looks like a lot has been on the judge's plates today as well. Erastus, was family of this girl in court as well? Do we know anything about her whereabouts too?
In fact, the family of the family of the victim were not in prosecutor. The victim herself was also not in court. Initially, even there were some hitches here and there. At the point, she didn't even want to go ahead. But then I know that there was some counseling and other things that went in, and she assisted the police then from that time on with investigations. I must also add, it's worthy to note that American Relief Center, which is an NGO, also took active interest in this they paid for the medical examination of the girl. You know, there was to be a medical examination to ascertain whether indeed she has been breached. And yes, they paid for that. They also paid for the age assessment at the Konfano Teaching Hospital. They also assisted with transportation of the accused persons from their various schools to court and back. I asked around, they said they are interested in seeking justice for people who do not have the means to do that. And so all this came together to where we are today.
Right. Erastus, earlier on when you were following the story, there were issues about the school from where these young men came from. Have you been in touch? Were they any part of this trial in any way, and what was their reaction if they were? And
there was when the ages were in contention that some records, I must say, from some information were retrieved from these schools. But in the trial itself, no. I did not see the contribution of the various schools in that.
And before I let you go, Erastus, one of the groups of people that were very involved in this matter were the residents who thought that this neighborhood was quite, the young people in that neighborhood were quite disciplined. Have they also heard the news, and how have they reacted?
In fact, in the course of the trial, they were very angry with the assembly member for the area who, in fact, tended these guys in to the police. And in fact, it became an issue during those elections that they were not going to vote for him and all that. He expected that the children would be punished, but not to that extent. And he himself, at the point when they were seeking for him to come forward to do justice to his testimony, he was being found, but later he came and helped us in the trial. So it has become a thorny issue, if you can call it, where some people are thinking that, well, the sanctions are too harsh. They were not expecting the children to go through all that. And so I know that there are people who agree that the various stakeholders there are also people who think that, hey, they have done a great job. It will serve as a lesson because some of these things happen within that vicinity, and it will serve as a deterrent for others who might want to engage in that in the future.
Okay, Erastus, we sort of lost you a little bit, but let me finally wrap up with this discussion by asking the 20-year-old who has been sentenced to 7 years with hard labor. Exactly what did he do again?
Well, he was seen in the video performing sexual acts.
Right. Erastus, thank you so much for those updates. Erastus Asari Donko has been following this story since it broke last year, and he's followed it through. Today we understand that the person who was behind the camera, 20-year-old, has been sentenced to 7 years in prison with hard labor. The others will be sentenced by a district court because they are juvenile. So we're following that, and we'll bring you the details as well.